Fest here. All right, we're going to get this started. I introduced our panelists, and we are so in debt to these people, especially this man who got up in the middle of the night to get here and catch a plane from Dallas. Mike Powell, I'll introduce him in a minute. In the meantime, we have Miss Twitter herself here, Lori Copper. She works for the Houston Association of Realtors as the Director of Meetings and Events. She's been there for 13 years and likes to shake things up a bit when it comes to programming, so members don't get bored. You're in the right place this morning, Lori. Yes. She has the Certified Meeting Professional designation, CMP, and is a graduate of the Business School at Texas A&M. Go Aggies. Yes. That's right, and that's Lori Copper. Thank you so much for being here, Lori. She's wonderful. And at the other end of the panel, you notice we put Michael in the middle. So what is that saying? The thorn between two roses or something?
Probably, yeah.
We have Vanessa Garza. She's the current president of Meeting Planners International, which is MPI, Houston chapter. And she is a meeting manager at corporate events and occasions. We give a hand to Vanessa. She is wonderful to be here. We appreciate it so much. Have any of you attended any of the MPI meetings? Yes, a couple of you. Oh, hello, Sandra. All right, and last but not least, we have Michael Powell. He is Vice President of Talent Services at the International Speakers Bureau in Dallas and has been with the firm since 2004. Before his tenure at ISB, Michael was Vice President of Operations and Marketing for World Intelligent Network and a venture capital consultant. He's a former Director of Member Networks at Young Presidents Organization and Marketing Manager for the Inventory of Skills Foundation. Michael was the founding music editor at the award-winning Fort Worth Weekly newspaper, a nationally published pop culture journalist and book editor. My God, a man of many talents here.
I've been around.
Yes. we won't go there this morning. Okay. Michael has many experiences, lots of years he brings to International Speakers Bureau in the international operations and executive networking, educational content planning, event management, and marketing. He's known for his creativity and unorthodox choices when assisting clients find the right speakers for their events. This is going to be interesting. And Michael said he apologizes for the state of the moustache he is growing in support of the month-long Movember prostate cancer awareness and his fundraising event of which he is a team captain. And he says it's a work in progress. Big hand for Michael Powell and all our panelists this morning for being here. Thank you so much. And without any further ado, I'm going to sit down now. And we start our panel. And I would like to, I've got a list of suggested questions that I'm going to ask, but I do invite you to be interactive in this. So if you've got questions, please just raise your hands at any point and we'll do it in a semi-civilized manner, okay? All right, so I'm going to start with Lori here and tell us what you do exactly for Houston Association of Realtors.
Well, as Teresa said, I'm the Director of Meetings and Special Events for the Houston Association of Realtors. We have approximately 24,000 members, and you might be familiar with our website, har.com. A lot of people go there and look for homes. I think we actually have over 1 billion hits a month now, so it's kind of incredible how many people go there. I think people go and look maybe if their neighbor's house is on the market, they want to see how much it costs or what a house looks like inside. So there's a little bit of lurking going on there as well as actually wanting to buy and sell. But that's okay. It's a fun experience. My job at HAR is to produce meetings and special events for our membership. And that can be, it's a large group of people, 24,000. So we just had our first ever conference called the Big E at the Norris Conference Center in October, and we limited it to 800 people. Because of those 24,000, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 sell real estate full-time. So you've got a lot of hobbyists and people that just have their license, they keep it, they maybe a deal may come up in the next year or so, that type of thing. So that's what I do, and I'm glad to be here.
How many meetings do you put on per year?
We probably produce 12 to 15. They're not all for the membership at large. Some are for our board of directors or specialized niches within HAR.
All right, thank you. And you're a member of the National Association also, NAR?
I'm a member of TAR, the Texas Association, NAR, the National Association of Realtors. That kind of comes with being a staff person at HAR. I'm also a member of MPI Houston. Keena is my colleague, as is Vanessa is our president this year. That's a large chapter. And I think that's about it.
NAR books some major speakers, don't they? The National Association of Realtors. I mean, big time. We're talking CNN and people like that. Yeah. All right, Vanessa, can you tell them what you do?
Well, you guys have heard about my role with MPI, and I was Vice President of Education for them for a couple of years, and that role includes getting speakers like yourselves for our monthly meetings, all to meet the CMP guidelines so that we can make sure that our planners who are attending are getting the education that they need in order to get their CMP. However, for my work, I work for corporate events and occasions, and I am subcontracted out to work for Shell Oil Company. About 90% of the meetings that I do are for them, and also the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
See, we're learning things we didn't know. All right, Michael, tell us your role at the ISB.
I'm a lecture agent at ISB. That just means I have a portfolio of clients, and I find speakers for those clients. And I also identify speakers that we think will be good for us, that we can represent and bring in, and not just have them speak, but also develop them into other areas, into publishing, and all sorts of different realms. So we're kind of a multifaceted entity now, no longer just a speakers bureau, and that's kind of it.
And how long has ISB been around?
Since 1991.
They're not a fly-by-night operation, but we're going to go into that a little bit longer. Actually, they're one of the bigger bureaus, major players around now, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And tell us how you've diversified in the last couple of years.
Well, in the last few years, sort of realizing that there was obviously some issues coming along in 2008, 2009 for all of us, we decided that it was best to move the eggs to different baskets. So we are now doing TV and film, we do sports, we do branding, and we do deals. We find speakers and clients. We realize we know a lot of people. And so just making connections and making money on those connections. We're buying into companies now. When we come into a company, we will bring in their education. They provide different avenues for us, and so we're just kind of growing and growing and growing. It's been the last year and a half. It's been pretty exponential for us.
Excellent. He was talking to me earlier that he's actually arranged meetings in Dubai, speakers in Dubai.
A lot at one time, not so much now, but for a while there, quite a few.
How about Brazil?
Brazil, definitely a lot coming, and not just events, but they're really are going for kind of I always like to see that when an area comes in and just goes crazy and just gets like the most frivolous thing they could possibly get. Like that's where we need to be looking at because they've got money and they're looking to spend it. And Brazil is definitely doing that. India also, the BRIC countries are all doing that. China is doing that too. So that's where we're spending a lot of our time right now.
But Brazil is having 2016 the Olympics,
Mhm.
and I went to a meeting, and they're really trying to get us over there. Sao
Good.
Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do you physically go to these countries to do this?
I do. It depends, but I'll go not as much as I used to, but just because of kids and family and things like that. But yeah, I do quite a bit of traveling to those places just to meet the clients and to help them. Every time I've met with a client, I've been able to close the deal. Not so much on the phone, and not near as good a percentage on the phone. So yeah, we like to get out there.
It's that mustache that does it.
It is the mustache. It also gets you a pat-down search on the airplane too. So just to let you know, that hasn't happened before till today.
Okay, we're going to start with the first question I've got here, and it's what major changes have you seen in the meetings industry since 2008? Start with Lori.
Well, we were talking earlier, Michael and I, about when things kind of came to a standstill in 2008 and 2009, and we just saw our meetings spend decrease dramatically. So things that we previously could spend money on, we had to stop and reevaluate and make sure that it was something that was valuable.
What, for example, can you give us an example?
Well, speakers, we maybe had national speakers before. We've hired Tom Peters before, Chris Gardner, and that shrunk to more of a local or statewide, base as opposed to national or international. So just the budgets, were smaller.
And Michael?
Well, I think the good news is that people are booking speakers again, which for a while there, that was definitely not the case. So that's definitely good. But I've also seen, I think what's important to realize is this: the clients, the customers, are much more sophisticated now than they were in 2008. They know what they want now, and they're very, very very focused on what they want, and they have tools they didn't have before, the social media, obviously the internet, but and they use that. So they're very, when they usually, when I first started, when a client would call me up, they didn't know what they wanted. Now they kind of know, and so you have to kind of fit that, fit into that construct they have already. But it's definitely a sophisticated buyer now.
So you're seeing, I talked to a bureau last week, and he was saying that buyers now, they're getting so specific about speakers. They want a speaker to address this problem that's on the, kind of like at this particular, this is the issue that's going on in the workplace, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. And, are you finding that?
Yes, and also the time. When I first started, I would book a speaker a year in advance, 6 months in advance. I have a client that calls me up 2 weeks prior now, once a month, 2 weeks for 5 speakers. And well, I would, but it's crazy. And so it's very immediate. I think it has to do with budgets. I think you have the money. When you have the money, you can't plan that far in advance anymore. So we have to deal with that.
Yeah, the lead times are definitely
Lead time, and that's tough. It's also tough to find talent when you're with that lead time too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found that too. Did a few speakers bureaus jobs this year, and 4 weeks out, nation. Okay, hop on a plane. There you go. What about you, Vanessa? Major changes since
Major
2000.
changes. Same thing about the timing. I'm lucky if I get 2 months to plan a meeting these days. The majority of them are coming between 1 and 2 weeks in advance. And I manage a really high volume of meetings, so that gets to be really, really crazy. And then also the very specific, like this, I want somebody to speak on this topic specifically. And sometimes it's just not easy to find. And also not easy to find within the budget that they're asking for. The majority, if I say anything over $2,000, they like, what, really? But, you guys know what you do and you come in prepared, and there's a reason to pay that price. But it's hard sometimes for us as planners to justify that to the client.
Yes, I get a lot. I think we all get that, don't we? The big old gasp at the end when you say your fee. Now it's more than ever. So number 2, do you see a lot of changes in actual meeting formats? If so, what are they and how do they affect speakers? Our national association, NSA, sent this little blurb out. I don't know whether you all read this recently, but it said, according to the IMEX America's recent 2020 Fast Future Research Convention, people want shorter keynotes, 15 to 20 minutes, and breakouts repeated more frequently, and more action-orientated formats such as speed networking and speed meetings. Attendees want shorter sessions that are repeated more frequently, followed by extended Q&A sessions with presenters, and one-on-one sessions with the actual creators, scientists, and developers behind new products and services. Are you finding this to be a fact? Lori.
Yes, indeed. Things have really changed in the last couple of years, and I'll refer back to the conference that we just did in October, where we had about 8 speakers in the main ballroom. They spoke for up to 45 minutes each, and then we had 20 lab sessions going on concurrently in 2 other rooms, where they would speak for 15 minutes and then have 15 minutes of Q&A afterwards. And like Crystal had mentioned, we really tried to get our speakers to get engaged with the people that were coming to the conference beforehand. They had the hashtag sign, they had the Facebook page. We wanted them to really get them engaged and excited and have their questions ready, so when they came, they felt like they knew the speaker. So now the speaker's got to kind of prepare a whole new part of it, not only your actual program, but your before, your during, and your after, because that's what people want. They want that sense of community, they want that follow-up, they want to feel engaged with you, and they want to, they want it. So yeah, it's definitely changed.
Michael.
Yes, I'm not familiar with this particular research, but just my own experience. everybody wants to be Ted now. 17 minutes, and they want that kind of experience. It's fast, it's furious. Now, I'm not sure about 20, 15-minute keynotes. I mean, if people are paying money, that's sometimes that's a little too short.
Sure.
But they want the Q&A. They want long. So most of the engagements I book are. I always tell my clients 45 minutes on the speech, because I mean, after 45 minutes, everybody's on. Everybody's got doing their stuff. But then do a long Q&A, 30 minutes or more, just till there's no more to give, really, and that's what they expect. I used to work. My first job at ISB was working for Young Presidents Organization, who had been previously employed. They were my one client, and that's the format that they always have. You come in, you have a dinner, a reception. You would go up and speak for 45 minutes. You would give a 30 to 45-minute Q&A. Then you were expected to sit down for dinner and stay and talk until they were done with you. So, and that's what people are looking for right now. It really is to have that. They want to get to know the talent that they're dealing with. That's how they get more out of the Q&A and their FaceTime with you than probably they do with the speech.
How does that work with the larger conferences?
What we do with that is usually there'll be a smaller break, a VIP kind of breakout, usually the C-suite and the people they want to impress, and that's how you can make that happen. Or with breakouts. But we do breakouts, you're getting into a serious amount of time. We're talking half days and full days and things like that, and that can be problematic. Just a lot of speakers don't want to do that. And they want more money for it, and the client doesn't want to pay them more money for it. Everyone is really trying to squeeze every dollar they can right now and get the most out of it.
Vanessa?
I find that I book more speakers that have something that engages the audience or some sort of team building. That's really specifically for the oil industry. A lot of these people work in different countries, and they don't get to see each other very much. So when they get together, and they're also smaller groups, maybe 30 to 60 people that would get together at one time, and just have somebody there that can maybe do 45 minutes, like you said, of talking, and then just incorporate different activities throughout the day where these people can get to know each other versus just, like before you'd have somebody up for, an hour or two during lunch. And I don't find that I'm doing that as much anymore.
We also have, it kind of peaked about a year ago, but I still see it now, is everybody's wanting experiential learning. That was kind of the buzzword. They wanted not just to come up and someone to talk to them, but to do something extra with them. So, it could be, there had to be something that was more interactive, not just go up. They say no talking heads. We don't want any talking heads. We want to really do something different. So, it could be everything from, I just did an engagement, Les Stroud, the Survivor Man guy. So we did an event with him where he came and spoke at the conference. Then there was a user pay event where everybody paid like $10,000 and got to go take a helicopter, landed at the event, put everybody on the helicopter and took them out into the Everglades for 24 hours to be Survivor Man. So that obviously we all can't do that, but you have to think like that. You had to think about what's that extra thing that I can give, and what is that experiential component. Haven't had as much in the last 6 months, but for a while there, it was really the hot and heavy thing for us.
Whoa. All right. Are we getting ideas here or what? Okay. Sorry, was that a question?
That was not. Les came for a set fee, but this was so they could fund that. To have a helicopter come in, land at a hotel, convention hotel, pick everybody, get in the helicopter, run, and you have a knife and a sleeping bag, and off you go.
How many people went?
We had 22. It was less than assistant.
Did
22.
everybody pay 10,000 of the 22?
Yeah.
I see. Who got that money?
That funded the event. The client used that to fund the event.
Okay.
Les just took his 2 days, and the client, and that was kind of our idea. They need some help with some to make the event special. We thought that would be a good way to do it, and so they used that money themselves. We'd like to have gotten a bit of that, but we didn't.
All right, so apart from the helicopters, how are you dealing with the budget cuts in this economy? And do you have any advice for speakers in this area? Lori?
Well, the way that we're dealing with budget cuts is and also just kind of the new trend of shorter presentations is we've gone more local, pulling experts from the Houston area to come and speak to our members in conferences. So shorter speaking time, but local speakers to save the money. Some of them will speak complimentary with the hopes that they'll get more business from that speaking engagement. I also am part of HSAE, the Houston Society of Association Executives, so that proves there really is an association for everything. This is the Association for Associations at the local level, and we have a speaker every month. Like last month, we had Frank Billingsley, the weather guy. And we're not able to pay them, we can provide lunch, that type of thing, but some of the speakers will come in the hopes that perhaps they'll get business from some of the associations that are there. So that's kind of one way that we've gone around the budget cuts. And then, like I said, kind of pulling from the local and the state market as opposed to someone from California or New York coming in.
Actually, I can vouch for that. I've spoken to HSAE, twice, I think, in the last couple of years and got major conventions out of them. So, because I specialize as a kickoff speaker, and doing that for HSAE is a great thing if you can get in front of those people. Of course, not to mention MPI. However, go ahead, Michael. How have you been dealing with the budget cuts?
Well, that's true. People have gone to different sources local. We tend to not want to deal with that because we are a for-profit enterprise. We are in it to make money, and we cannot just hey, can you help us out? We got this great cause, and I'd like to, but I'm not allowed to. There's an expectation from here to bring business to this company. But yeah, finding local people, we do a lot of that. I mean, we'll find people in a specific city, and obviously you save travel right off the bat, and that's always bites into budgets pretty good, and they appreciate that. So when we're pitching, we usually incorporate sort of a different tier system of this is the big international spokesman on this, and here's a mid-range kind of guy not too far away, and here's someone in your neighborhood, and that's how we throw that out. But it's we've also just what we've really done, I think the most important thing is really try to do a deep dive into every company that we work with. It's no longer for us profitable or even, it's just not doable for us anymore to do transactional speaking engagements. So when we go to a company now, we have to really put it through sort of a system of what else can we do with this. Is there a training opportunity here? Is there a branding opportunity here? Is there a joint venture opportunity here? What else goes on with every single speaker? We run it through that system. And that has really done well for us. I mean, and we've found we can make those connections, and the companies appreciate it too. I had an Australian corporation that wanted to bring a speaker over. After just a few questions, we really realized that they were going through a major change initiative. They needed someone to come in and guide that change, not just to speak to the troops and get everybody ready for it, but also to actually help them implement that change as well. And that ended up being, it was like a 4 or 5 engagement deal. It was $500,000. We realized we have brought some guys that are sports guys that really pay attention to branding. They're like, oh, this company is huge, but they don't sponsor any sports teams. So maybe we can find them, a sports team to get involved with. So we've really just sort of changed the way we look at everything.
Do you ask anything of the speakers themselves to provide more value?
Yes. We really want the speakers to become more involved with the client and not just come up and talk. Whatever we try to get the talents. We actually use the term talent now. We don't even use speakers anymore. Everybody's talent now for us. So I think it's a good thing. It sort of branches out, who you are and what you can do. I think being a speaker, you can talk. That's what people I think kind of think. So we're looking for the speakers to come in, talk to the client, put information back to us where we can find these things out, and we also if the speaker does that, then obviously they're part of this the financial component as well. So it works for everyone.
Good. What about you, Vanessa?
On the Shell Oil side, I find that it's not necessarily so much about the budget, but on what they want accomplished at that meeting, and it also depends on the client within Shell and what they're looking for, and what level they are and how much they're going to spend. But on the MPI side, I know a lot of you signed up to be part of the pool of speakers that we can choose from. that has changed for us starting January 1. They're basically changing the way we structure our budget, where 50% of our funds are actually going into a pool with all of the other chapters. And then 25 is restricted, and the other 25 is up to us to use. Well, that 50% is basically being used for us to get our speakers, and that's based on your last year's budget and the sponsorships that you had the year before. And so more times, if you're not already part of that pool, then we wouldn't be able to pay you unless you joined, which is now a lot easier for you to do that. But if you're not part of that, then we don't have the budget to pay you. And that basically comes down to that. For travel, for us as the Houston chapter, we've been very fortunate that Continental United has always sponsored or given us X number of tickets for the year. So we don't worry too much about that. And the hotels usually give us a comp room. So that's not really so much. But now it's come down to our budget and how many credits we have that we can use from now to the end of the year. And our budget, when we first went into this, was based on, we're doing it the old way from July through December, and then the new way of doing it from January through July. So it's kind of in a test mode. A lot of us are, it was difficult to plan our budget on it, and when we did our budget, we did not know exactly what that was going to look like and how many credits we were going to get. So we just kind of did it on a ghost budget and see what it was going to work out or how it was going to work out. But hopefully that will give us more of an opportunity to get speakers that are at a higher level, which maybe we wouldn't have been able to get before.
Great, excellent. So each of you, I'm going to ask, what kind of speakers do you typically book for what kind of events? Lori?
It seems that the trend the last couple of years is we're booking talent that can talk about real estate or what's going on in the worldwide economy, kind of disruptive innovation, if you will. You know, they had a company and their product was, Michael could probably do it. He talked about how his business recognized in 2008, 2009, we've got to shift. Because we're just booking speakers, and we're not going to last if we do that. And we talked earlier, a lot of the speakers bureaus that you may know of are no longer around because that's what they were doing, and they didn't change. But his company changed, and they've gone kind of a whole new direction where they're working with publishing and entertainment and kind of an after value thing. So that's, kudos to y'all for doing that and surviving, and it sounds like doing very well. So we're looking for someone to come in and talk to our realtors who are kind of facing, a lot of issues now with what's their value proposition. Why should you use a realtor? If you're a realtor and you can't tell me why I should use you, well, I'm not going to use you. So we're really trying to help our members go through this new world and realize that they need to innovate or not be around. So we're looking for speakers that can talk about that. They may not be a realtor, but they can, use their business experience and tell us about it.
So more content, would you say?
Yeah, not just content though, credentialed content is extremely important. I think people who are sort of aggregators of different topics and I can talk about this and this and this, that right now they want the one thing. This is a good example. There's a gentleman named Stephen S. Little. You may know him. He's a speaker. And he came to our office 6 years ago, and he said to us, he goes, when you think of me, I want you to think of small business growth, nothing else. And he can speak on about 10 different things because he's been an entrepreneur. He's he's started up businesses. He's sold companies. He has a broad range. But that is in my brain. So every time a client calls up, hey, I need someone about small business growth, Stephen S. Little is your man. But it's that kind of, it's the clients right now really want experts. They want experts on the topic they want. They really are not looking for someone who's sort of a broad generalist. It really is about expert. And not just someone who can talk about it, but someone who's got the gravitas as well. They've got the book, they've got the academic credentials, they've got, they are a celebrity, they're well known for it, and that's what they're looking for. You get a lot of that. And as she said, the economy, what's happening, it's this, right now everyone is concerned about what's happening next. So economy, innovation, futurists, people that are looking ahead. Everybody's looking ahead, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So if you can address the uncertainty, that is a big deal right now. And I think it's going to be that way for a while. I don't see that slacking up at all.
That was going to be something like my next question, which is the topics, etc. But Vanessa, do you have anything to add?
Just for my shell clients, primarily, they just want somebody that can do team building and communications exercises for the most part. And then for MPI, of course, it is specific to that industry. How people can do their jobs a little better, and motivational always gets a very good response. So that's primarily it for the two.
I had something to add, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, we're now looking for speakers that can kind of give a dual message, not only how you can apply this to your business life, but also to your personal life. We have a gentleman who is a master negotiator, and there's a credential for that in the real estate world. You can take his courses and be a master negotiator, but you can also apply that to your personal life as well as your business. So I think people are looking for that value, because time, it seems, is just such a factor. No one has enough time. And I really think, I don't know what y'all think about this, but technology is a great thing, but it's also makes us so much quicker, and everyone wants everything yesterday, and just such a frenzied pace that, it's just kind of, I can see some of the faces out here, kind of feel like, my gosh, they want everything from me. And yeah, that's what it is.
I'm seeing that too. I spoke in Georgia at an association last month, and typically they'll always bring you in the night before, of course, to kick off a convention, but now this client wanted everything else as well. And so the added value for me as a professional pianist, so the night before, they had me playing piano for their reception, and I had to go to their meet and greet, and then I went to the dinner with them, and then I kicked off the convention, and after that they wanted a CD signing, the whole bit. So you can't just offer one thing anymore. As Michael said, you've got to be more involved with the client, and this, by the way, was one of the old-fashioned ways. They booked me like 2 years out, so it was
Nice.
Had time to prepare. All right, so anyone got any questions to jump in here? Because otherwise I'm just rolling off these. Okay, I'm going to go on to speakers' topics right now, because I've seen a big shift in the last 3 years of what's been in demand, and Michael's touched on that too, and so have you, Laurie. But back in before '08, typically there were a lot of motivational speakers like myself that were, just uplifting, and we offered entertainment and all that sort of thing as well. But then in 2009, that kind of died, along with the AIG scandal, that meetings were scrutinized more by the government and other.
And I also think that James Arthur Ray, that whole thing also, when the industry was on its knees, that was the kill shot, right? I mean,
Awful.
It was terrible. So, and I think that for that type of speaker, that was bad. And I was just reading some of my numbers last night. This year so far, I've booked about 75 speakers, and 2 have been motivational. And which 2 have been motivational out of 65.
My goodness.
So it's quite. And when I first started, that was really flip-flopped, and it was quite a bit different.
But I think, we have all these serious speakers, these credentialed speakers. You're going to want some levity. You're going to want some fun. People still want to have fun and laugh and let loose. So maybe if you're a motivational speaker, you just market it differently, where you can add value. You have a little bit in your presentation that has some business, application, but also where people have fun. I mean, I think that we still realize that our members want to have fun and they want to laugh, and maybe it is a stressful time, so it's the best time to laugh and have fun. So
I'm seeing that more with people as a lunchtime keynote now. They'll have the business content, or the CEO kick off the convention if that's the way they want, with content. But then by the morning, and they've gone through the sessions, after the cheesecake and the rubber chicken at lunch, they'll bring me in to wake everybody up. So, and I think Judy Carter, the comedian out of LA that we've got coming in January, says the same thing. She's changed her marketing around to, and her value now is de-stressing. You've got all this content, you've got all this flying at you, you've got stats and facts, you need some levity. And so that's what Laurie is saying, and that's a shift in my marketing also. So good point. Vanessa?
Kind of on the same deal. I know for me, I've primarily booked a lot of motivational. If they're not some sort of team building, they actually have been motivational because most of these teams don't see each other and they've got, 2 days of a finance or very technical meeting and all they really want is to have a nice dinner and hear somebody fun talk. So I'm finding that to be quite a lot, especially within the oil industry. Their topics are so specific that they have internal people who are going to lead a lot of those discussions, and they're going to have their leadership team come in and possibly do a panel like we're doing right now, so that they can really see the state of the company and what's going to happen within their groups. So when I'm booking a speaker, a lot of times either it's, like I've mentioned, the team building kind of things, or somebody just kind of motivate them, some things sort of light and fun where they can feel good when they leave.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting. In fact, I'm speaking to ExxonMobil in December, and they said, we've had dry speakers all year. Please help. So, you had a question, sorry.
Yes, I'm wondering, in regards to the people who buy your services, why would a person buy or talk to an agent versus someone who is a specialist in planning? And the second part of this question is, what is the average price that they're willing to pay a speaker to come in and talk for both?
Anyone want to address that? Did you hear that?
I would say that for my speakers for Shell specifically, between $2,000 and $3,500, so $2,000 to $3,500 is what usually they're willing to pay. The higher end usually of that is if they've got some sort of activity surrounding it.
Why use a speaker bureau? That's all. Speakers always want to know that one. One, because we're out. We know the clients. We have a large portfolio of clients, thousands of them we've dealt with over the years. So we have that. We market. If I am talking to a client, I am advocating on behalf of the speaker. I'm saying, it's my reputation on the line. I'm saying this guy is going to be great for you. And if they're not, that's all. They're never going to work with me again. So we have a vested interest in finding the right speaker for the talent, and that's why, and that's a good reason to use this. Also, people are busy and they don't have time, and a great short stop is to come see me, because we know where everybody's at. If you say I need this type of speaker, I can have a proposal ready to go in 20 minutes for you, or less, or just however long it takes. So, boom, here are the guys you want right here. So that's I'd say that'd be a very good reason to use one. But like I said, the buyer is very sophisticated. They have the same tools that we have, and they can go on YouTube. They can watch the videos just the same as we can. We're a time-saving device, and we're sort of a place where if someone wants to go to an expert, we would classify ourselves as that.
One thing that Mike hasn't said is that we might have a meeting that comes in to being, we've got 2 months to plan it, and we're like, oh my gosh, and all these great ideas, but we don't know who to use. So we call someone like Mike, who knows the speakers, and he knows the client, and so he is kind of a matchmaker, where no, this person wouldn't be right for you, but this one would fit more your style or your culture of your association or your company. So that's why I'm a big advocate and user of speakers bureaus, because they know us and they know what we want and what we need, what we like, what we don't like. One thing that I do like speakers bureaus to tell me is if someone is difficult to work with. I've had a couple of surprises that were not nice, and if I had been told and was aware that they were not nice, we would have still hired them, but I would have been prepared, and our staff would have been prepared when they were using expletives and things that were not appropriate for someone that I think of that call, getting that much money should be like, but just let me know, So that's one thing that
I think I know who she might be talking about. There's actually, this is one speaker that we work with. He's not exclusive with us, but we do book him for clients. He's very much in demand. Is the most difficult human being you've ever met to work with, and he tries to torpedo the event every single time. So I tell the client, here, I know you want him. He's great on the podium. You're going to get what you want. But during the pre-event conference call, he's going to throw a temper tantrum. He's going to blow up and yell at everybody and threaten not to do it. If we can just get over that little hump, we'll all be fine. So be prepared to meet some kind of silly demands, and they are very silly, but he makes a big deal out of it. And it's just the guy's personality. But they love what he delivers.
yes, he's great on stage.
That's the value of the bureau.
You've got, and that one, I had that happen to me one time with another speaker, and it completely caught me off guard. I was not ready for that. You're sitting in a conference call with your client, trying to get a word in, and they're not letting you in, and you just have to, luckily it was saved, but now, that was when I was brand new, and now I know much better.
Is he a movie star? Is he a movie star?
No.
Who is he?
He thinks he is.
No, it isn't.
Camera's on, I'm sorry, I can't.
Another question over there.
I just had another question for you, Mike. You said it booked 2 motivational speakers. What do the other talk about?
Excuse me?
What's the rest of them talk about?
But mostly the economy, a lot of economy, a lot of innovation. Really, is big for us. What's going to happen next? How can I innovate to keep up? How can I innovate to survive? We still do a lot. We do a lot of. I've done quite a few entertainers lately as well. What has replaced some of the motivational stuff is they'll bring in comedians or people that can do some, have a show to do as well. So there's quite a bit of that going on. It depends on what the client wants. I mean, if the client wants, everybody just to feel good for 5 minutes, you bring a comedian in. If you want something more, you got to go a little bit deeper and a little bit heavier on the content.
What do the sports people talk about?
Sports people, mostly it's personal. We do personal appearances too, so they show up and they shake the CEO's hand, that kind of thing. But we also coaches are still popular on the motivational side. They do the Go Team, their story. Mike Ditka, Mike Krzyzewski, guys like that are still very popular. There are calls for those guys quite a bit.
So mainly in the last few years, you say, so motivational, to answer that question, instead of motivational speakers, they want futurists, economists, innovation, social media, I think also.
And social, and maybe not business people who have actually done something with a business. Someone that everybody right now we get 3 calls a month for Mark Zuckerberg. So we call them celebrity CEOs are very popular. And there's only a few of those guys who actually will go out and speak. So that's always a challenge. But then you have to find out, what does that person want? Are they wanting just to have that guy, or are they wanting what's the need? And you can always find, there's always people that can sub for that. You just have to know where to look.
Does he speak, by the way?
Zuckerberg? No. His sister does, Randy. She was the CMO of Facebook, and she was our chief spokesperson. And she was there for the whole thing. But Chris Hughes, one of the co-founders, also speaks. He's also worked on the Obama campaign. He was the Obama.org that was the big success. So there are people that can address that.
Are there any topics that, now that we've covered that what's hot right now, what you're hearing is, are there any topics that are actually not called for anymore, like customer service, leadership? A lot of people, NSA members here, speak on specifics, just the topics that have been around forever. So is there anything that is stale and is so 70s?
For us, I mean, we still see a lot of, stuff still keeps coming up. But I booked a client for a sales meeting. They wanted sales training, and I realized I haven't booked a sales meeting in 2 years. I was like, who can I get for this? I don't know who's current right now, because it hasn't been on my mind lately. And that sort of surprised me, because I would think now with sales would be, everybody wants to sell right now, right? You have to sell to make money. So I thought that would be big, but it's just not something that's come across my desk, strangely enough. I've also seen a decline in, not so much motivation, I mean, sort of the survivor story has really kind of played out, I think. I mean, there's always some new tragedy that happens, and someone has a new story to tell, but for a while that was really a big thing, and we just don't, I mean, like I said, I was looking at the numbers, and I think we've had 1 in the last year out of all the speakers we booked at ISB, which is pretty amazing.
That's amazing, because at NSA national conventions for a while, I don't know if you remember this, but a few years back, I've been in NSA, by the way, for 11, 12 years, I think. So the national conventions, they used to be, we were sitting there listening to the general sessions for 3 days, and we're going like, if you don't have a disease, or if you haven't fallen off, climbed a mountain, or if you haven't sort of been hijacked in a plane, then you're not going to get up on that platform. And that was the trend for many years. So the survivor stories. I had a client
a year or 2 ago say, no more slash and maim speakers.
Slash and maim?
That's what they call them. Sorry. but I get it. I mean, they just had all they could deal with.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
One of the questions he asked was about how much
Oh, yes.
speakers are getting.
Um,
She answered hers was 2 to 3, and how
Well,
much?
I looked at our numbers for the last year. If you just took the average up, it's $27,000. But I think probably the sweet spot for us, because we have an interest, in a higher speaking fee as well, because we commission off of it. So for us, it's about 15 is looking kind of like the average. I mean, it used to be, I'd say in 2008 it was probably 25 to 30 for us, and now it's definitely come down. But that being said, we book speakers that are $100,000 and we book speakers that are $5,000. So, it balances out. But I think 15 seems, when I talk to a client, 15 doesn't seem to scare people. Now, it did in 2008, but not so much as it used to now. It's getting better. And I also noticed too that speakers, not, 2008, 2009, people would speak for a ham sandwich. But now, the speakers are holding firmer on their fees, or not negotiating quite as much as they used to, which I think is good for all of us.
Talk also about your day rate on training for both you guys.
Sorry, what was that question?
Could they also address the day rate per se on training?
Okay, the question was the day rate on training. Before we move to that question, can I just put some, I spoke to a bureau in California that I work with, and they said that a lot of their clients, at least in California, are looking for a $15,000 speaker for $7,500. Do you see that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that happens. You just have to work through that. But
So we as speakers have to have wiggle room in our fees.
I think you should have some wiggle room. You should definitely have, sort of, this is your fee, and then you have kind of like your fallback fee. But also I'll say this, and I truly believe this. I think that in some regard, if you start shooting too low, you don't have, everybody's like, why is he so low? What's the matter with her? Why is she that price? Is something wrong? Is she not good? And they can be a fantastic speaker, but just, well, no, she's just being very available. I mean, and it does work. I would definitely, I think you should hold for, don't go too far down.
Right, because you lose credibility.
You definitely lose credibility. I think that's true.
Okay, Ski.
Yeah, I got a question that was brought up. We talked on the ProTrack program here, and they said one of the things that speakers can do is that they're like $10,000 and it's too much, that they can negotiate selling their books in the back of the room. What do you guys think about that?
It happens a lot, and we do it a lot.
Okay.
It's and that's up to the speaker. I mean, it's their call, and the client and the clients are usually, if you have a book, that's clients like that immediately already. That's always a good selling point. So if you have a book, you definitely want to bring it to the event. You definitely want to get that done.
Anybody ever says you can't bring the book?
Yeah, some. I've had some membership associations that sort of have a no solicitation policy at their events. So that sort of falls under that, and they think it cheapens their event.
Did you address the day rate on the training yet?
No, we're not. We're getting to that. Sorry, there was a question up there at the end. Yes, sorry, it was Darla first and then Charlotte. Darla?
Yeah, the question I had is a little bit back. I'm Darla Powell Phillips, by the way, our cousin. And I have a question. Of the three of you guys, give me one tip on being the best speaker to get along with. You said there's some difficult speakers. So what are the things that we may be missing?
One that
would
has an
make me
agent.
Be a more valued speaker to get along with.
Well,
That people are excited to go.
Well, I think getting along with. I think we get along with most everyone. If you're speaking, you tend to be a likable person. I mean, you like to talk to people, you like to get in front of people. So there is that. That one particular instance is the guy's. He's kind of crazy, and you just have to deal with the crazy. But I think what we like to find, and this is one of your questions down the list, is sort of that mix of content and charisma is what we really want. Someone who who's really good on the platform but has something to say as well. But we need someone with video. We need someone who has the tools that we can use to market you, because we don't have the time to develop those for everyone. So is it me that's making the funny noise?
No, it's
Yeah, someone's making a funny noise in here. It's all right. But funny noises, it's probably his. It's always the man's fault. That's always the man's fault.
Yeah, I think you know, as far as dealing with the bureau, I mean, I think we get along with pretty much all the speakers that we deal with. I mean, I can't think of anyone that's, you know, no one that annoys me greatly. I know one guy who used to, and he used to call us every week, everybody in our office. So we'd go through the whole phone chain, and I won't say his last name, but just pretend it was Smith, and we'd say, "Oh, you just got smithed." If he actually made it through to you, it'd be like, we want to know what you're doing. If you have something new, we need to know about it. If you have a new book, we need to know about it. We don't need to know about every event that you speak at. And give us something like Stephen S. Little did, that I will remember who you are every time I think about that topic. If you have a lot of things you talk about, I'm not going to remember it because I'm a terrible memory.
That's a branding thing, isn't it?
It really is. But like I said, for small business growth, if someone's a small business, Stephen Little comes in my head every time, and he gets booked a lot because of that. It is one thing that he really could focus on that we remember him for.
Lori and Vanessa, you got any pet peeves about speakers while we're on that topic? Because that was one of my questions. Speakers that really tick you off.
On the MPI side primarily, it's a really great audience that's going to be able to provide you a lot of business. So I primarily ask, and absolutely you can sell your books. I think it's great, and sometimes actually in exchange of the fee, I'll say, okay, if we're going to have 90 people present, if you'll give me a discount on your book, we'll get one for everybody in the audience. That way they're having a take home with them. But I've had speakers where, we really said, don't be up there to sell just your product, speak, and that's going to sell you if you just speak to this audience and really use it as a place to teach them what you do. And they'll come in and maybe do 10 minutes of that, and the rest of it is sales, and it's really disappointing. And then of course I get horrible feedback from everybody there, so in return you're not going to get any business because nobody learned anything.
Selling from the platform, big no-no.
That really is, that doesn't happen a lot, at least I haven't been my experience, but when it has, boy, I get an earful from a client on that.
Sure.
Also too, something that would just make me love you is if I book you for an event and you send me spin-off gigs for that, if someone approaches you and says, "Hey, I want you to speak," and you bring that back to me, I will always work with you every time, because we brought you in there. You've done well. You're getting a reward for it. We'd like to make a little more money too. So that would just make us. Yeah, we love that. And then there are some speakers that really do that. Mm-hmm. And the ones that do, we know who they are.
I'm one of them. Lori.
I was going to suggest an email that I get. It's a daily email. I don't know if y'all are familiar with it. It's called Velvet Chainsaw Mid-Course Corrections. Does anyone in here subscribe to that?
I've seen it.
I've got an email.
Velvet Chainsaw.
Mid-Course Corrections. And I have an email from November 17th, which was what, Thursday?
Yes.
Conference organizers' top 15 professional speaker pet peeves. And I'm not going to go through all 15, but one that comes to mind, arrogant, prima donna, or diva-like behavior. Do you really have to fly first class? Do you really have to bring your wife or your spouse? I mean, that can be a deal breaker sometimes if you're paying a lot for a speaker. A lot of times I think a speaker might fly a lot, and so they can maybe upgrade themselves. But if that's a demand, sometimes it can, if you're not willing to budge from that, it can sometimes be a deal breaker.
But I've said this, I'm very sympathetic for everyone who wants to fly first class, because airline travel is absolutely no fun whatsoever.
It is.
So that's what we tell clients too. It's like, look, I mean, he travels 100 days a year. He's leaving his family. Get him the first class ticket. Now, when it's international, then it's a whole nother.
Yeah.
And we've done that before, but we'll ask the speaker to please get your own ticket, and we'll, reimburse you. But don't wait until 2 days before.
What we do a lot now, and I've been doing for forever, is doing a travel buyout.
Yeah.
Especially if there's some distance between the time that you book the speaker and the actual presentation. We go online, we check orbits. That the flight is $1,500. Let's lock that in there today.
Right. That's good.
And that's. Because speakers will wait to the last minute and buy that ticket, and the client's like $27,000. Really? I mean, that was for a flight I did to Australia for clients.
Tell me about it.
You know, and they were just, you know, they were a bit, you know, gobsmacked, to say the very least. That, you know, $27,000 is, if you're on a tight event budget, that blows it right there. So yeah, I think if you offer a buyout package with your travel, the clients love that.
Yeah, yeah, and one other thing is an attitude that the speaker is the customer, not the organization and its audience. Just remember who the customer is. But anyway, it's a really good email that I get every day, and I think it might be applicable to some people here because it addresses meeting professionals, conference planners, but also the speakers and kind of what the trends are in speaking today.
Have you got that URL for us, please, Lori? Velvet. Or has somebody already tweeted that to the NSA?
Is it Jeff Hurt? I think Jeff Hurt is the one that does it. His email is jhurt, HURT, @velvetchainsaw.com. That's what comes up as who's sending it to me.
Okay.
I'll tweet it out under NSA.
Thank you very much. You're in. Okay. We had another question at the back, sorry, just before you, Mr. Pink Shirt. Charlotte.
It's light red, I don't wear it.
It's light red, excuse me. I mean, he's a man.
Real men wear pink.
Real men wear, yeah, eat quiche and wear pink. That's a real man. Okay. Charlotte.
I have a couple of questions. One is, I think, an extension of this discussion about travel and such. What have you seen in terms of trends around like all-inclusive fees versus here's my fee and the travel is separate? Are your clients open to that? Just here's one flat fee that includes travel, all those things. So I'd like your comments on that. And then also, when you're pitching speakers to a client, and I've been hired by several speakers and appreciate those relationships. ISB has been one that's brought me in before. And they'll say, you know, we've got you and 2 other speakers that we're pitching to the client. So are you advocating for all 3 of those speakers that you're putting forward, or you just kind of say, you're the best and they get to choose? So what are you seeing that your clients are really basing their decisions on?
It depends on the topic and the speaker. A lot of times, if it's like, here are 3 guys that you cannot go wrong with, home runs, each one, just pick, you know, who's the best, you know, who's the best for you, and sort of delve into what they really need. But that's why I do with all proposals, have people that really like to throw out there. Seldom do we ever just sort of do a you know, scattershot, shotgun kind of approach. It's definitely, you know, try to focus on the best people for that. So that's kind of how we pitch. I mean, like I said, our reputation's on the line too. We want to find the best person for them, and if it's not the best person, then it looks bad for us as well. So, but as far as the travel goes, yeah, I'm all for the all-inclusive stuff, and the clients like that too. But I also, from the other side, when I was planning meetings, I like the control aspect. I like to pick them up from the airport. I like to put them in the hotel. I like to book that hotel room for them too, so I know where they are. Because I had one speaker who was like, "Oh yeah, dude, I'll just show up to an event and I'll let him do it." And of course, he was late. You know, no one knew where he was. I mean, he wasn't answering his mobile phone. So it just kind of depends. I mean, if someone's a real pro, you know, we'd be fine letting them have, you know, but we like to, as a meeting, you know, in that, when I was doing meetings, we really want to know where they were going to be, and we want to make sure they arrived. And so I tell clients, airfare, you know, do the airfare, but let's go ahead and book their hotel and go ahead and take care of their car service for them if that's where, you know, what they do, or have someone pick them up at the airport.
I'm seeing more that the meeting planners like, and the bureaus like a flat fee, that's it, no surprises. So sometimes I include the airfare, but they take care of the hotel. And is that what you're seeing all over, or what?
Ours are more separate, like the airfare is separate from the flat fee. We usually, when we're dealing with a bureau or with a speaker, we'll negotiate the fee, and then all the extras like the travel, we provide the hotel, we provide the car service, and I will call you that night and make sure you arrived and how was your flight, because I want to make sure you're there.
Yes. Well, actually, the speaker should
wanna
call
be
the
able to
meeting planner
sleep.
and tell them they're there anyway, so, yes. Vanessa?
I'm very much the same. I like to make the hotel and the transportation arrangements, so I'm in control of that, and I know they arrived on time. And they're staying at the same place where the meeting is being held, so all they have to do is come down, and I don't have to worry so much. But there are some clients who want to see a complete breakdown. I work with one of the finance groups within Shell, and they want to see all the numbers. And then the geophysicists don't care. How much are we going to pay? And that's it. So it really depends on the client.
It does, yeah. across the board there. So do we need a break at this time? It's 10:30. Does everyone need a bathroom break? Okay, so I'm going to give you, what? Sorry?
Could I ask those people that were guests that did not get a blue guest packet to pick those up now and fill out the information?
I think it's about 6 o'clock. We're going to have it early, and it's going to be fun for NSA members. So mark that down on your calendars.
So join, and so you can have the.
So join, so you can, yeah, if you join before December 4th, you get to come to the party. Hello, Mr. Non-Pink Shirt. Yeah, all right, cool. All right, we're getting back to the questions now for our panelists. And first of all, I have to apologize to this gentleman over here in the blue. He's asked a question about an hour ago about training rates, and sorry. So has anyone got any input on that?
I don't have any specific information, but if you let me know, because we have a whole training division and they can help you out with that. It's just not my space. Sure.
Okay, so that comes under sort of half-day workshops sometimes and workshops. So go to ISB, it's internationalspeakers.com is ISB.
I would say just typically, if it's a half day, it'll be sort of the speaker will charge half their fee. Usually, so if it's 15, it's 7.5 for a few additional hours, kind of thing. As long as it's on the same. Is my mic not on?
Yeah, you're on.
Am I on? Okay. Oh, can you hear me now?
As loud as it was.
Hear me now?
Okay.
This is a Verizon moment. Hear me now?
Hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
Good. Okay, I think it's louder now. But yeah. So I think it's usually at 50% more. It's if you get into multiple day events, obviously it goes up significantly.
All right, so here we go. I'm finding my place on here. Let's see. Are you seeing a trend in PowerPoint? Is PowerPoint over, or is it more sensational than ever?
I think it's over. I think for the most part. But beware, I would not be surprised if you're also going to have a nice iPad presentation with some kind of song and dance to go along with it. So just be ready for that. But I know a very effective speaker who uses transparency slides still. Which try to find those projectors for an event. You have to rate all the high schools to get one.
I have some transparencies in a closet if you want them.
But I honestly think the connection is better with the audience if you don't have it, and it's really the clients never asked for it. It's the speakers have always brought it. I think the clients never come to me and say, "Hey, do you have a good PowerPoint for us?"
No,
never.
not happen.
So I think maybe it's just something we thought that we all had to use.
I think some speakers that use just use it as notes. It's like that's where I am in the speech because that's the slide up there.
I've seen one or two very effective uses of it, but for the most part, I don't think it's necessary.
I was going to say, if you have a PowerPoint, don't read it to us. We know how to read. But maybe just have the PowerPoint up and then talk around it. But there's been some new trend I was just reading about recently where they're putting up these random slides and they talk about them just randomly. It's just like what's going to come up, it's kind of like a surprise. And then they say, oh, this slide means, and I thought, God, I've not seen a presentation like that. I think that might be kind of different. But yeah, if it's a PowerPoint and you're just reading it, then, but I do like some type of a visual. And we did have a speaker who hooked up their iPad and, did that in a movie theater. We used a movie theater as a venue recently, and that was kind of neat. But, you always have that pre-event jitters of, is it going to work? Because, technology, it's great when it works, and when it doesn't, everyone's looking at you.
Yeah, we know that. We've got a little scratchy microphone here right now, don't we? Right.
We've got great service from...
We've got great service from Mike Svat, actually, yes. Mike Svat of 360 DPI. Just the best speakers videographer in town is once again at it, so thank you for reminding me. He is absolutely awesome. He just did I've used him for a few years. He just edited my latest 4 video clips. Did an amazing job with some really hip and cool stuff, which will be up on the NSA blog soon. So, how should speakers approach you to be considered for your events? Lori.
Well, I was talking with some of the people here earlier about that, and if you know someone that I know, it would be good if they contacted me first. Like if you had done something for Keller Williams and they just raved about it, if their person who handled that, say their marketing director or whatever, emailed me your information and your video and said, wow, she's really great. Teresa's fantastic. You need to consider her for something coming up. That's easier than a cold call. You know, as we all know, cold call is kind of difficult. But if you know a colleague or someone that I know, if they could send me the information, or say you spoke at MPI, you might say, I spoke at MPI, you might ask Vanessa about me, that kind of thing.
Personal reference goes a long way. Michael?
As I was saying earlier, I think that we get inundated with a lot of talent wanting to work with us, and that's fantastic. And we get through it the best that we can. Now that you've all met me here, we definitely have a connection now. And I'll be happy to bump everybody to the top of the pile. But I think one thing that speakers do a lot, especially new speakers, is especially the bureaus, they really get called. They're calling the bureaus all the time. They go through the phone list and, establish relations with one guy at the bureau who can be your guy at the bureau. And, and that's a really good way to go, because all the time, I mean, every day, a colleague comes to my office and says, who do you think what about this, for this event? Do you have anything for me? I do the same thing, at least once a day. We share information all the time. Every Monday we have a staff meeting where we talk about new talent and the trends and things that we're talking about right now. So you don't want to, because the one speaker I was talking about, he called so much he annoyed everyone until he just couldn't. No one wanted to work with him anymore, and we don't now. And he's a good speaker, but it was just so. We booked him once, and that was a mistake that we paid for a very long time. But I think that establishing a relationship with one person is very helpful to have someone who can be your advocate there. And you want to get on the bureau websites. You want to have a presence there. And I'll say this: at bureaus, people are rethinking their websites right now a lot too. I think we used to be a very large. Anybody who wanted to put everybody on. Now we're really scaling back and putting the people that we really want to be on the site now. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have that relationship to be one of those people that makes it there.
And before we even approach, before I go to Vanessa on that question, I want to expand upon that, because there's a lot of speakers, a lot of members here or people here who are just coming into the business, and you're emerging speakers, or you want to go from training to be a keynote speaker. So, Michael, can you tell us, please, what is essential for new speakers, emerging speakers, to have in place, ready, before they even think of approaching a bureau?
You need to have, some experience is helpful, but as far as tools, you definitely need a video. You have to have a video. I cannot recommend you, if you're new and I don't know who you are, I haven't seen you somewhere, I can't recommend you unless I've see a video. I just can't. I need to know your topics, exactly what your topics are. Your 3, 4, whatever things that you cover. A good bio, a high resolution photo, a headshot photo. Not everyone's a keynote speaker, and
expand on that, please.
And we need to know that. If you're not, I need to know what if you are more of a session guy, we need to know that. So I think an honest look at yourselves and sort of an assessment of what your talents are is very helpful to have too.
Would you recommend his? Because I used to when I worked in the bureau, a lot of speakers would approach me and say, "Hey, I'm a keynote speaker," and they're trainers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trainers out there saying that they're keynote speakers. Would you agree?
Yes.
Second thing we wanted about 3 years experience. Because then you kind of know what you're talking about and that market, etc. And as you say, branding yourself for years. A lot of us starting out, we didn't know what we were talking about yet. And so you can't, if you approach a bureau with a bad video, forget it. That's all they remember. I mean, we had that all the time. Did you?
Yes, I'll say your video needs to be 8 minutes long. 8 minutes. Not 9, not 7. 8 minutes is the magic.
Five.
Nope. 8 minutes. For some, 8 minutes is we've done some looking into it, and that's the sort of the attention span that everyone has. So it's got to be all done in 8 minutes. I think it's good to have snippets in the video of sort of your big moments, but then have one time, a 3 or 4 minute period of time where you're just going on the one, it's unedited, so we can hear the whole thing. It's very, and that's 8 minutes just seems to work. I don't know why, but someone somewhere has done some research on this, and that is what we go for now.
That's interesting, because I thought, first of all, you had 30 seconds, and you already click it
Well,
off.
I mean, if we've gone so far as to pitch you out there to a client already, they're expecting a little bit more than just the sound bite.
Okay, so now I have to go, Mike, we have to go back and do these. I did 4 video clips, under 5 minutes.
But you're saying 8 minutes of unedited speaking?
No, 5 minutes of unedited speaking, and for 4 minutes, and then 4 minutes of kind of your best moments. Yeah, the things that
I'm
you're
safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're all right.
I'm good.
And that may be changing. I may not have all the answers here. We may be getting to a time where they want just the shortest, best moments, and that's it. But for us, it's always been 8 minutes works well.
8 minutes, all right. And so a speaker has to have a video, you have to have really good video, it has to be professional, not by Uncle Joe holding it at the back of the room. Because, I don't know about with you, but you look at that, a bureau agent sees something like that, and together with bad audio or bad lighting.
Also too, even if if you're not in front of a crowd, make it look like you are. Shoot it on a stage. We're a little bit higher up than the room. Don't pan the camera backwards. If you're mobile, stay mobile, but keep the camera on you so it looks like you're talking to a group. You don't have to have the applause in there, but it looks like you've had some experience if you're doing that kind of thing.
All right, good. And so anything else that speakers need before they approach a bureau?
Nothing.
All your ducks in a row, so got all that? All right.
What about the one pager?
The one pager is digital anymore, isn't it? It's all digital.
Yeah, everything is digital. So yeah, we need everything digital.
Well, no, I understand that, but I don't see that on the list.
A one pager, still essential.
Can be, yeah. If we need to know if we don't know who you are at all, then yeah, that would be helpful. Just to give us a quick breakdown, and having sort of what you talk about near the top, so we can immediately say it. Because we're thinking about what our clients right now want, so that's what we're going to look first.
All right, Vanessa, how do the speakers approach you to be considered for your events?
I primarily will book someone that's been recommended by someone else. Just as Lori said, it's if I've seen them at an MPI function, then I will consider them because I know that they were good, or if they've been referred by another planner. If I've been approached by someone that I feel their video was great, their website was great, maybe I want to consider them more, and then I'll shoot out an email to a bunch of my other buddies with an MPI and say, hey, what was your experience? Has anybody booked with this person? I can't go to my client and say, yes, go with this person and spend this much money when I don't know what that person's really like, and a 5-8 minute video, whatever, is not really enough for me to be able to advocate to my client on your behalf.
Okay. So basically, personal references and testimonials are the best way to go there, right?
And also just to jump in, if it's a really high dollar speaker, I'm gonna go to my speakers bureau, because they're gonna know how they work, what their personality type is, and things that we wanna know, if they're a good fit for our culture. Especially, like Mike was saying, they book comedians. We've had some experiences with comedians that we thought were, everyone's heard that, and then they get up there and you're like, oh my gosh, get the hook. That's not appropriate. And so it's really, you've really got to rely on your speakers bureau person to steer you in the right direction for something that can be a little dicey or interesting at times.
Yeah, dicey.
It always is. It always is when the speaker does something like that. I had a former presidential advisor to a former president from Texas speak at an event, and he dropped a few F-bombs, and it was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe he did it. But there was a little bit of a gasp, and it kind of got smoothed over, but it was unexpected.
Unbelievable.
You're sitting in the back of the room, it's kind of sinking low against the wall.
Oh dear.
It's definitely
Did
memorable.
he get clapped after?
He did. He did. The thing was, he was very generous with his time. He stayed a long time. He had dinner with everybody, and everybody got to shake his hand. So yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. I was going to ask something there with, and it's totally gone out of my red head. Oh, I know. I was speaking to, on the phone, I was dealing with this executive director of a national association. They will not book speakers directly. They will always go through a speakers bureau. Why? Because the speakers bureau goes through the selection process. They don't book emerging speakers, or they don't. They've got this experience and they've got the quality. So this executive director of the National National Association, she said, I will always go through a speakers bureau because first of all it saves me time, which is money, and I know that I get a quality speaker. And she says, and then in an emergency I can call them, and that if the speaker does cancel at the last minute, they've got 18,000 other speakers that they know can fill the job. So there's a lot of advantages to going with a bureau.
Well, just on that point, that's a service a great service that bureaus do provide. You're asking why to go to. We had an event last spring where a speaker spoke at the event, and it was tweeted that he was there and speaking. It's fine, I can talk about it. It made the news, so everybody knows about it. George Bush was speaking at this event, and we booked Julian Assange to speak before, but the client never told George Bush and Julian Assange was speaking there, and he's like, and it got tweeted, and immediately CNN knew about 20 minutes later the client was getting calls. BBC called, Fox, and it just became a big story. And then President Bush was like, I'm out, not going to do it. And so we had to find a speaker within less than 24 hours to come and replace the president. So
who did you find?
Tom Brokaw.
Oh, that guy, Tom Brokaw.
Because he could put it into context of just what happened earlier today. But it's a great, you talk about power of social media. That was a big deal. I mean, and Julian Assange was kind of a surprise. It was the client wanted to keep it quiet. He was obviously had to be video fed in because he couldn't leave his house arrest. But it was a great presentation. And we're going, wow, this is great. He's winning the audience over. They like him. And then all of a sudden, phone calls and emails just start coming in, and it's because someone tweeted. And the client was like, "How did they know? How did they find out?" I'm like, "Because one of your people in your audience said something." So there's an upside and a downside to that. And luckily we were on site, and there were a couple other bureau people on site, and we were able to find a replacement for them very, very quickly. So that was a good moment.
That's a stressful moment,
It was very
I'd say. Yes. Looking for speakers. How do you look for speakers? How do you find speakers? Do you use social media? If so, advise us speakers what we should be doing. Lori.
Everything.
Speakers. Go ahead.
It just seems like, video, you're on YouTube, you have Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I mean, we're gonna check you out. Even after I've talked to Mike and he said, I've got this great speaker for you, I'm still gonna do my due diligence because I've got to present it to my CEO, and it's gonna make me look good, or we're not gonna use you. I mean, that comes down to the bottom line. Customers aren't gonna use you if you're not gonna make them look good. So I think it's just everything, unfortunately. And that's when I talk about technology and how it makes our lives better, but it also makes it more, you gotta be everything to all people, and we need some motivation and some humor sometimes.
I think speak at TED if you possibly can. That's everybody wants a TED speaker right now. So that's the trendy thing right now. So
Even the local TEDx events?
TEDx, absolutely. I mean, because TED puts them up and they're available on TED's website, and it's a great. It's a great showcase because you're there. There's gonna be a lot of people in the audience. You're being filmed with a high quality video, right there, then and there. And if you're speaking at TED, people are like, "Well, that person really has something to offer." We're always looking for kind of the new thing. So we're looking at, Wired Magazine, Fast Company. All bureau people, at least the good ones, read the news, lots of news every day. We need to know what's happening and where. Just having a presence is, I don't really use. We do research for speakers. Sometimes I'm trying to find somebody. I will, often have to go to Facebook and places like that to find them. I actually had to contact the speaker through Facebook because I couldn't find any contact information more than anywhere else. So I'm like, sorry to do this. Here's a Facebook message. And I contacted a guy on Twitter the same way. I couldn't reach him. So, but they eventually responded. So just being out there, having that video up on the website is huge.
So you look for people on Twitter and Facebook or
Not often. I mean, we usually look for very specific people. So we're not shooting, we're not looking for I don't go on to the website and look for speakers that can speak about this. We have a huge database of speakers, about 20,000 people in our system. We're just looking for, what's in the news, what's happening. But if I need to find, if I don't have you in the database and someone wants you, or we kind of get to that point where I find out that you're someone that this client's going to want, I need to be able to find out where you are, and hopefully not spend a whole lot of time having to do that.
Vanessa, do you ever use social media to find speakers?
Only in the context of MPI members. If I've heard a lot about this person, I'll do a little bit of research within MPI just to find out more about that speaker for MPI functions. And some of those speakers then can be taken over to my shell clients as well. Dana Steele was really fantastic, and she's a local. I had her come out to one of the MPI events. Everybody loved her. She was really fantastic. And I have now used her several times for Shell when they just want somebody that can really get the team energized and have fun. And she's been fantastic. I mean, she continues to do some things for MPI, but it's really paid out for her in the end, because I know a lot of other planners have booked her because of seeing her there.
Excellent. Great group to get in front of. Yes.
Is there a process for getting on TED? Is that...
You apply. You have to apply to be a speaker there. They have on their website, if they're doing the TEDx's, whatever city they're doing. I know they do one for Houston. They do have a form for that, and I think you have to have a video and all the things we've talked about to make it. TEDx.
TED.com.
Yeah, go to TED.com, and but that's a real big. I mean, it's seen as sort of the bellwether for innovation and change and the things that are coming. It's about people who have something interesting to say that are worth saying, and so the TED committees will vet the talent before they put them on stage. So right there is an immediate recommendation as well.
They put pretty much all of their talks online, so it's a great source for inspiration and great speaker.
One of the things you had, I don't know if you're going to go back to it or not, but it's talking about who are the hot speakers right now. One guy who spoke at TED, I think, and this guy I think is so good, but I can't place what he does quite yet, but I'm just mesmerized by him. His name's Seco Andrews. He's a motivational poet, and if you want to make me run out of room, say motivational poet, but this guy is just amazing. He comes in and he'll talk. He spoke at several of the TED events, and it's an inspirational message, but it's about technology and what's going on with the event. He does a thing with the images that come up. He does that too. And my mouth is hanging open. I'm just like shocked by this guy. I'm like, wow. And we've been able to, I've gone to a client, I've said, this guy's right for you. I can't tell you why, just please watch the video, and you're gonna say and it's worked a couple of times actually. We're really trying to figure out how to, to position him. It's just so unique. And it is in that motivational realm. I think it's so unique, and so I think he's gonna be setting the trend for that kind of.
How do you spell his name, please?
Sekou.
Sekou.
Andrews. I think he's fantastic. There's just something about the guy.
Okay, got all that. We're all tweeting about him now.
It's also too. I think that the speaker of the year is going to be Walter Isaacson. Wrote the Steve Jobs book. It's the last testament of Steve Jobs. Since I've been in the business, everybody's wanted Steve Jobs to speak at their event. He just hasn't done it. And now we've got a guy who's written a book who does. And I think he's going to be huge. And just luck of the draw.
Speaking of books, how important is it to you that a speaker has a book or other services, training, consulting, coaching, other products? If so, what? Lori?
I'm trying to think back on
Or certifications?
The different speakers that we've used, and a lot of them have had books, or they've been involved in a movie, or they've been entertainers, kind of celebrity pop culture. But also on the business side, some type of credentials. It doesn't hurt if you went to Harvard. We've had some Harvard MBA speakers come and talk, and that never hurts. It's important. It just really depends on the topic. I mean, I don't want to discourage people and say, okay, so you don't have all that, so we're not going to hire you. It just really depends on the niche that they, cover and what the topic is. So I just say it just depends.
Michael?
What was the question?
Okay, the caffeine's worn off.
One more time?
How important is it that a speaker has certifications like CSP, CPAE, or a book, or other services, do a breakout session as well, or coaching products?
I think, the certifications, probably not as much as it once held. I think it's important. I think more, being certified, if you're a Harvard MBA, yes, that kind of, but, CSPA, that's, not so much, because people are wanting, like I said, experts. If you're an expert on something, that's the credentialing that they want. Books are huge. Books give you immediate, you're immediately
Credible.
You're credible. You have a book. If it's not self-published, that's better. But if it, as long as it's a book.
They can self-publish.
Yeah. So training is big for us too, because we're doing more of that. We have a whole division of ISP now that is solely focused on training, taking a product, taking a speaker, developing a training product from that speaker, and running it through all these different corporations. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. 5 Stars doing that too.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa, importance of certifications, book, products.
I don't guess that I look as much into a certification, but I get a lot of packages with books, and it really is what that presentation looks like when I receive it. Dana Steele, I'll just use her as an example. She sent a really neat package. She talks about it's rock to the top, how to move up in business, or what she's learned from the rock stars throughout the years. She was a DJ here locally with KLOL when I was growing up, so I knew of her. So her package was just really, there's fun color to it. It's got a little guitar pick. Her, her little paper clip that goes on it is a guitar, and it's just it was nice and refreshing and fun, and it really made me I didn't know her before that, but I looked at it, I was like, yeah, I want to get to know her, So and I booked her without having even seen her before that. So I was taking a big chance in bringing her to MPI, but it was fantastic. It worked out well.
Any questions at this point? No? Okay. What is the main it factor that makes you decide on a particular speaker? Lori?
That's hard to say. You just kind of have that feeling if it's a good fit. If they're going to know your culture, if they're going to appeal to your membership or to whatever audience you're having them speak to. Because it could be your board of directors at strategic planning. It could be your membership at large. It could be an international group. It could be a governmental affairs group. So it really just depends on the membership. But if you just have that connection, and if they would fit in well with your culture, the credentials are important as well, or if they're an expert in their field. If you, like you said, the gentleman, Stephen Little, I think is his name, small business growth. That's what he thinks of when he thinks of Stephen Little. So if there's a certain phrase that you've come up with to brand and market yourself, that's what we think of, and that's it.
Okay, Michael?
I think the client dictates a lot of what the it is. I have one client who's has a construction firm in Atlanta, and she'll call me. She says, I want these topics, and I'll present them. She goes, no, this is not. We have more of a meat and potatoes kind of crowd. So we sort of delve down to what they're looking for, and she has different audiences. She has the C-suite that wants one thing, and she has the guys on the ground that want something else. And so it all depends on the need. I think that there are certainly, like I said, that there's that melody of charisma and content is very, very helpful. I mean, I was speaking to a pretty well-known motivational speaker the other day, and we were discussing, what's being booked and things like that. And he told me he's a great speaker, he's one of the best in the business. And he told me people are picking content over a good speaker. But I think that's true most of the time. But if you're a good speaker too, God, that can seal the deal. I mean, if you have the content and you can deliver it well, I mean that's they're gonna look at the video and go, yeah, that's the guy.
So content with humor, isn't it? You still have to have the humor in there.
I think humor is good. I think it definitely helps. I think people, it's people work with agents and bureaus because they like the people they work with. I think people work with people they like,
Right.
just in general. And so if there's something that makes you whatever makes you likable, that's it.
Well, one of our busiest speakers in that chapter, as you know, is our beloved Karen McCullough, and she uses business content with lots of humor and high energy, and sort of dynamic visuals as well. So she's got all sides covered, and and so is Garrison Wynn is another one here, and he comes from a stand-up comedy background as well as a business background. Perfect. I remember 10 years in the Bureau, we started booking him, and then it was just, he went off and running. So content with business, content with entertaining, being likable, yes, all those things, right? Vanessa?
Yeah, I've actually had people within MPI that have come and you know, I might not have thought that they would have been perfect for MPI, but then I've been able to match them up with a client for something else. So, you know, I might meet all of you today and I might not need your services right away, but maybe 5 years down the line, I'm gonna have a client who does. So for me, if the speaker maintains some sort of communication with me, and I'm not saying call me every week or every month, but if I hear from you at least once a quarter or something like that, and you've got something new that you're doing, I want to know about it, you know. But so I think some planners always say that they feel bombarded by, oh, you know, everybody's trying to get my business, but you know, we need you guys. So I'm not bothered by that. I don't want you to call me every week, but I do want to know what's going on and what's new that's being offered so that I can provide that to my clients. So it's a good, just maintaining a balance.
All right. And one last question, and then if you've got any questions, please feel free, but I want to keep on time for our panelists because we are taking up their weekend time. So one final message for speakers. If you had one message for speakers today in this economy, this marketplace, what would it be? Lori.
Gosh, that's tough. One message.
One piece of advice that perhaps should do, not do, considering the changes that have come about in the last 3 years.
I think to be authentic, to be yourself, to really speak about what you know and what you're passionate about, but to fit that around whatever the client is looking for. So depending on the audience that you're going to be speaking to, take whatever you're an expert in and passionate about and guide it towards them.
Okay, it's got to be about them, doesn't it? It's got to be about them, right? Michael?
To second what Lori said, I think that authenticity, that's great. I was not thinking about that initially, but that really, because the client can tell. They're so sophisticated now. They if you're cheesy, they know, and they're gonna see it. So, you know, be yourself, be an expert, and not an expert on everything. You know, find your 1 and 2 things that you can nail, and do it, and be the best part. If the house is on fire and I need that thing, you know, if I'm in a situation where I've got to have the speaker, who am I going to think of? Be that person. Be that person that every bureau is going to intuitively think that's the guy.
All right, thank you. Vanessa, one message.
For me, I think it's a speaker who can tailor what they do towards what my client would want, and to have and to set aside the time to ask the right questions of my client, not just myself, because a lot of times I don't understand what these geophysicists are talking about. I have no clue. But I need you to sit down with me and the client and talk about what their needs are and be able to create something that is going to be successful to them in the end. Because it's if you look like a rock star, then I look like a rock star, and then I'm going to hire you again.
Yes, your number one priority should be making your meeting planner look like a rock star. That should be your priority, your goal. Make them look good. Any questions before I let these wonderful people go? No? Okay, Bambi?
So, I just did a talk for the 500 Top Women in Exxon, and I never had an experience. They wanted to see my PowerPoint, and so I actually met with them twice, And they said, don't use this word, don't use that word, I wanna know the story you're gonna tell about this.
Wow.
And, you know, there was a part of me during part of it thinking, do I really, and I charged them a pretty good fee. And at some point I was thinking, do I really want to do this? Is this really a fit for me? Because, you know, I'm one about having a culture where people are honored and respected and valued, and, you know, and it was about leadership, which is really what I'm an expert in. And, you know, how do you know when, I mean, I did the talk, they loved it, they apologized for going through my PowerPoint afterward, they said, you're so great, we can't believe we did that to you. But, you know, I really was questioning whether this was a good fit for me, was I really the one? And there was a couple of times in the meetings thinking, you know, should I just say, wait a minute, I didn't have a meeting planner, it was, somebody had referred me, so it was just me. And like 6 of these financial, legal, you know, they're top women in some of those areas. But how do you know if it's really a fit, you know, from a speaker's perspective?
That's tough. I mean, the honesty is it would be appreciated. I think I've had a couple of speakers say, "This is not, you know, just not for me. This is not what I'm not an expert here." But that's pretty tough. I mean, if you don't think that you are, you should probably say something. But if you didn't, you know, I've never had a client pull apart a PowerPoint before.
I was shocked.
I've had them say like an outline.
Yeah.
But that's about as, you know, that's about as.
Well, it's like they had a bad experience.
That's my guess. Something
And
happened.
they were being very
I've had that
overcautious,
multiple
but it
times
worked
with
out.
Exxon. It's kind of a cultural thing, that they really want to vet it before it goes on. They haven't seen it.
It could be a thing too where, I mean, they know the event's being filmed. Exxon has a brand. They want to make sure that their brand is being represented in the best light possible. You know, I'm sorry. I mean, I have a couple of clients that you know, that are extremely conscious of that. You know, that their brand is everything. And if it's damaged in any way, it's money that they're going to lose. But God, I know if you're the, I mean, don't you just kind of know? I mean, if it's your topic, don't you know?
Well, I mean, I knew my topic, right? And I worked with engineers, so I know, you know, luckily I had worked with engineers, so I didn't get offended by it. I just said, great. At some point I decided they're coaching me, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, sure, I'm gonna get whatever I can learn from you. And it was really interesting, like I said, after the talk, because one of the women presidents was gonna be there, and they had told me that they wanted to make sure, you know, she was happy and all that, right? But so, you know, so I was lucky that I didn't sabotage it, you know, because you know, luckily I'm busy, and so I didn't have to have the money. But it was a nice fee, and you know, I thought I'd not spoken at Exxon before, and I'd love to have it on my resume, right?
Yeah.
And they have given me the video, which is great, and they also have given me quotes, so which is nice. But so the second question I have is, because of my business experience in my past, I've spoken at conferences a lot when I was a business executive, and I did that for free. And so my name is out there from those kinds of conferences, leadership conferences, HR conferences, training and development conferences, and I know, and I like to practice, but I don't know what's, you know, I get inundated, and people give my name out, and then, you know, and I like to talk, so, you know, my tendency is to want to do that. So how do you know, I mean, is that sabotaging myself when the next guy's paying me a big fee? Should I stop doing that?
We come across that a lot, where some speakers have had a experience where they've done it gratis, and that is a case that people kind of expect that. What I recommend doing is say, okay, I give 3 free keynotes a year, and that's all that I do, or whatever that number is for you. And once you hit it, stick to it. You know, and because I mean, it is a buyer's market, and they will take advantage of you. They will take everything they can get, and you know, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if you set, and people understand. I mean, that's something that's very understandable. I think, and you know, we'll have clients that'll, you know, they'll debate us on even why should I pay for a speaker. You know, why? You know, it's very simple. It's their job. You know, do they pay? You know, you get paid to, you know, do your job? Well, so does she. You know, it's amazing when you sort of see the light come on. Oh yeah, you know, it's not a hobby. It's not their hobby. This is, you know. So I think if you set some parameters and stick with them, and really stick with them, that's the way to go.
But also when people have asked me for my PowerPoint, and somebody asked me twice, one week before I gave it, and 5 minutes before I gave it. And I said no, because they wanted to steal it from me, all the content that I had.
Ah,
Yeah, that's what I would be afraid of, but in your case, it wasn't that.
Yeah,
wow.
All right, one last, any more questions? I'm going to close it. Okay.
One question, and the question really, forgive me, it's not so much for the panelists, but for the audience. I'm wondering if you guys would be so kind to raise your hand if you're using Google Ads to promote yourself.
Anyone using Google Ads to promote yourself as a speaker? Yes, one person, Sandra, I've seen her.
We use it as a bureau. We pay for search engine optimization on all the different.
SEO.
It is. I mean,
Well,
that's.
I'm not talking SEO, I'm talking Google Ads.
Google Ads.
Oh,
You pay for it,
But,
actually.
thank you, I know.
There's a couple of local speakers that are doing that, actually. I'm going to close this meeting. I want to thank our panelists. I have a little something for each of you. This is the boy package because it's a jungle thing. And he's got that moustache going on.
it looks very
And
nice.
this one's for Vanessa up there, if you pass that along, thank you. Remind you that, again, the NSA Christmas, there's no meeting, a formal meeting in December. There is our Christmas party for NSA members, which is Putty Down. And so those of you who are not a member, and ProTrack, there is or isn't a meeting.
No, ProTrack's included in our party.
ProTrackers are included. Oh, yay! So you get to come, ProTrackers. Way to go. Judy Carter, the #1 speaker, comedian in one of the top in our country, is coming in January to our NSA meeting, and she is funny lady, and she's going to do a whole thing, a workshop in the afternoon, and we've got her doing a whole comedy workshop on the Sunday, which is another must-see program because it's how to be funny. If you're not funny, you know the saying in NSA, you want to get paid as a speaker, be funny. Would you please give a big, huge thank you to our panelists. Thank you so much for giving up your weekend time. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Laurie Harper, Michael Powell, and Vanessa Garza. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Y'all did a great job.
I looked you up.